Roll call, please.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Here.
Commissioner Ludlow,
Here.
Commissioner Bray, here, Commissioner Peterson,
Here.
Commissioner Fournier, here, Commissioner Britton,
Here.
Commissioner Konashevsky,
Here.
Commissioner Kozlowski.
Here. We could have a prayer by Pastor Shipman.
So I served in the military for 30 years and I would always bring some quotes so that folks who really don't have a faith understanding. So I'd just like to share one with from Winston Churchill, leader during World War II of Great Britain. He said, "It takes a great deal of courage to stand up and state your opinion, and just as much courage to sit down and listen to someone else's." Today, I would ask you to, if you have courage, and if you have courage, I would ask that you pray with me at this time. Let us pray. Gracious God, I thank you for the county commissioners, these elected officials who stand before the people today to make a difference. Inspire them to listen and inspire them to act. Help them to always rely on integrity and vision for their actions. And remind us, the people who live here, that they are doing a tremendous job. Inspire us through their actions, and we pray this in your precious and holy name. Amen.
Thank you. Looking for a motion. Oh, yes. Trying to get this thing moving. Sorry, Ken.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Actually, we did roll call earlier. See, I'm trying to move the thing, Ken. So now we have the agenda. Everyone got the agenda. Just looking for if anyone has anything to remove or add, we can do that now. Otherwise, I'd look for a motion to approve. the agenda.
Motion so moved.
We have a motion by Commissioner Peterson, support by Commissioner Fournier. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Okay, we have public comment. If you could step up to the podium, we have a 3-minute comment. If you state your name. No one in the audience.
Chairman, if I could, just as a note, part 20, part 1 of your agenda is correspondence from a constituent who had an opinion on a vote that you'll take prior to that portion of the agenda. So although it's not technically public comment, she did want to make sure that I brought it to everybody's attention.
Did everyone get a chance to read the individual's letter? I'm sure you did. It was an attachment.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Jesse. Back to. So you said no one online. Okay. Next item is the looking for a motion to pay the bills.
Make that motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner LaHaye,
Support.
support by Commissioner Britton.
Yeah.
Any questions? If not, roll call, please.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Ludlow,
Yes.
Commissioner Bray,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Britton,
Yes.
Commissioner Konashevsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski.
Yes.
Motion carried.
The next item is the budget adjustments. Everyone had a chance to review them. I know that there's one item that needed to have, it was 2 items that needed to have a line item added, and I know, were they both the ambulance one?
Action item 1, the amendment is, instead of opioid settlement revenue, it's an expenditure.
Okay.
And then amendment, action item number 2 also. And then,
And then the one for the ambulance to move the 175
nope, that has a line item.
did?
The consent calendar needed a
Okay.
line item.
So we'll just get those, but other than those items, did anyone have any issues with the budget adjustments? If not, I'd look for a motion to approve the budget adjustments.
I made that motion. Go ahead.
Who made that? So Commissioner Ludlow, and then support by Commissioner
Yes.
Britton. Okay, Any questions? If not, roll call, please.
Commissioner Ludlow,
Yes.
Commissioner Bray, yes, Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Britton,
Yes.
Commissioner Konashevsky,
Yes.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski.
Yes.
Motion carried.
The next item, we have the consent calendar. Everyone had a chance to review the consent calendar. Any issues, questions? If not, I'd look for a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Commissioner Bray, support by Commissioner LaHaye. Any discussion? If not, a roll call on that one as well.
Commissioner Bray, yes, Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier, yes, Commissioner Britton,
Yes.
Commissioner Konashevsky,
Yes.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Ludlow,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, next item is the
John?
contract.
Did you want to add that line item to the one or not? Because I know what it is.
You know what it is?
I do, but it's not on here.
You just give it to Kim.
Yep, it's 210-651-972.000 for action item CPSC-1.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, next up is the sheriff, the jail medical contract.
Good afternoon. So over the last several years, we've used Advanced Correctional Health for our jail contract. They were the only game in town really for a jail our size. So we've been stuck in basically what their pricing is kind of forced us to stay with them. However, as of this year, the player in town, ATC, I received quotes from both of them, and ATC a little bit less expensive at $199,680. I recommend that we switch to ATC healthcare.
Okay, so
I'll make that motion.
motion by Commissioner Peterson, support by Commissioner Fournier. Any discussion?
Eric, is the service the same?
Yeah, so they basically gave us a quote for the exact, there's 1 hour less in like mental health. And if we go over, we can just pay for that hour, but yeah, it's essentially the exact same contract.
So I just did the quick numbers and basically it's $51,000 less than what the ACH contract is. And then the new contract with ACH was increased 41,000. So overall, we're going to save 51,000 a year for that one contract.
This year, and like I've mentioned to somebody before, every year we kept on getting an increase with ACH.
Yep.
The great thing about ATC, it's a 3-year it's a 3-year contract. The 1 and 2 years are the exact same. Year 3, we already know it's 2.5% increase. So over the life of that, we're probably going to be saving a lot more.
Well, and to go from 199 to 251, you know, we have a couple of years before with that 2% increase before we're at that point. So,
The companies out of Midland, Michigan, they provide all the for all of the MDOC facilities. I believe they're going to be a good partner to have, so.
any other questions? If not, roll call, please.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Britton,
Yes.
Commissioner Konashevsky,
Yes.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Ludlow,
Yes.
Commissioner Bray, yes, Commissioner Kozlowski.
Yes,
Motion carried.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
911 director.
Good afternoon. I'm here today with our annual hazardous materials emergency preparedness grant from the state. They offer a $1,500 reimbursement grant every year. There's no organizational match. We do have a 20% in-kind match that they require. This is the 3rd year that I've participated in this grant. The 2 previous years, I've been able to meet the in-kind requirement by charging them for copy services for our meeting packets. And we've been able to meet our in-kind contribution that way. What this grant provides is reimbursement for tasks that our emergency management program that we are required to do in the community. Every year we spend $500 subscribing to Access Eagles website for Alpena County. For all of the sites, we have 61 sites in the county that have hazardous materials and inventory. Depending on the specific substance, they each have a threshold assigned to it. And if a farm or industry has an inventory exceeding the threshold of that substance for even one day in the calendar year, we're required to create an off-site response plan for that agent, for that facility or farm. And we do a lot of research on the chemicals, on everything they have in site, not just the one that they're over the threshold on. But we have those, we provide them to City Fire and to the fire department that would have jurisdiction for that address, so that they have information, in their tablets, wherever they choose to put it. Should they roll up to a fire at that facility, they already know what chemicals are in there and what the average amount is. So we pay $500 every year to be able to access that information online. And we create those offsite response plans. We also receive a small stipend every year for the plans that we review. And then we get a nice sum from them for creating new plans as they're required. This year, we have 3 existing plans to review. We have 1 new plan to create. I'm hoping we'll come pretty close to that $1,500 in reimbursement. Sometimes they do up the stipend amounts. It all depends on how much money Uncle Sam puts into the pot and how many people apply for reimbursements. So sometimes you might get a little bit extra, which is always a pleasant surprise. But that is the gist of the grant, and we'll send in the receipts in the fall to receive our reimbursement. So this is just approval for the application.
Okay, so looking for a motion to approve the MSP Emergency Management Homeland Security grant for 911 in the amount of $1,500. So you said that you could get more?
So they say 1,500 every year. It's just like a blanket letter. I think last year we got slightly over that. The year before, we got almost 3,000.
Okay, so then with that, obviously the contribution in kind would,
Correct. But I've been able to meet that threshold every year, just keeping track of our per page copy that we're allowed to charge.
okay.
I've been able to meet that every year just with the meeting packets.
Okay, so I'm looking for a motion to make that,
Make a motion.
so we have a motion by Commissioner LaHaye,
I'll support.
support by Commissioner Bray. Any other discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Britton,
Yes.
Commissioner Konashevsky,
Yes.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Ludlow,
Yes.
Commissioner Bray. Yes. Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski.
Yes,
Motion carried.
Very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is County Administrator.
Commissioners, the Personnel Committee met on March 4th at noon in this room. They interviewed 4 applicants for the library board. It was a unanimous decision of that board to choose Jennifer Graham to fill the current term that is due to trustee Quentin Meek from resigning, I guess, from the board. So it'd just be for the remainder of this year. At the end of the year, we'll have to reappoint. So just looking for approval of the board to go ahead and appoint her, and we'll get the letters out to the library board immediately.
So looking for a motion on that.
I'll make that motion.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Fournier, support by Commissioner Ludlow. Any discussion? Just so everyone's aware, she just happens to be sitting in the audience today.
Oh,
So I just wanted to make sure that you all knew who she was.
okay.
If she made the effort to come here, so make sure we pointed her out. If there's no other discussion,
Chairman, if we could we have her sworn in? Part of the reason she's here tonight is she was under the understanding she could be sworn in during the meeting. That's okay.
A little bit later,
Sure.
so
Absolutely.
I can write it.
I mean, you didn't come prepared?
I didn't know.
Okay, well, before you go tonight, if you could just get sworn in. We'll do it towards the end of the meeting. Okay, so all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Next item,
We have two invoices from RRS. They're our consultants when it comes to the recycling project. One of the invoices you'll notice is from last year. We were holding off on that one per their directive, actually, because that's when Eagle decided to change up how they were doing things. We weren't quite sure what was happening. And so we were holding tight until we found out. Things are now clear, so they'd like payment for both that last quarter, I guess, and this current one. We're expecting two more of these in the future, but those will come in due time, but we would like permission to go ahead and get these paid.
Okay, so I'm looking for a motion to approve the two invoices for then 15,000.
I'll make,
15,000 total.
So we have a motion by Commissioner LaHaye, support by Commissioner Peterson. Any other discussion? If not, roll
Oh,
call.
this is a quick question.
Yep.
I thought at the last meeting, these are like a wash because you get money from the
Well, we're
state. or-
supposed to
Yeah.
yeah, we're
reimburse.
still working on it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I guess once we pay these, then we could submit them for reimbursement.
Correct.
Oh, that's how you have to do it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Any other questions?
Nope.
If not, roll call, please.
Commissioner Britton,
Yes.
Commissioner Konashevsky,
Yes.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Ludlow,
Yes.
Commissioner Bray. Yes. Commissioner Peterson.
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier. Yes. Commissioner Kozlowski.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, next item, material management plan. Who was you talking on that, Jesse?
Yes, so they have released a new contract for phase 3 of the scope of work. We're just looking for approval for the chairman to sign that and get started. It basically outlines, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer.
So I'm looking for a motion to
So
approve.
moved.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Peterson, support by Commissioner Britton. That invoice for the county is for the 61,209. And each of those counties will then be invoiced separately.
Correct.
Okay. Any other discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Commissioner Konashevsky,
Yes.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Ludlow,
Yes.
Commissioner Bray. Yes. Commissioner Peterson.
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier. Yes. Commissioner Britton,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. Next item is the contractual payments.
So one thing that we've realized, I guess, in the past year is we currently operate under a process of duplicity where this board will approve a contract, let's say where, for example, RRS, where it says we'll pay them $7,500 quarterly. This board approves that contract, but then every time we need to pay our payment, we then have to bring that invoice to the board too for payment, even though you've already voted to make the payment by adopting the contract. So just to streamline the process, what we're hoping to do is going forward, I'll be able to submit the invoice with the contract and the board action staple to it. And either myself or the chairman can sign off on it for payment. Again, it's already something that the board approved in the contractual process. It just allows us to do it so we don't have to wait 2 weeks to get a check out. Sometimes those invoices come and then they're waiting, wanting to know where their money is, so. So if that process is acceptable,
So
I'll make that motion
what motion is it?
to, with the process of making the payments without having to come to a board meeting.
Okay. So
How would you, oh,
so we have a motion for support by Commissioner Peterson. Questions?
how would it work that we would be notified or
it'll still show up in the
the consent calendar? Okay.
well, not
Showing the bills paid.
The
calendar.
bills paid.
Bills
Okay.
paid.
The bills paid.
Bills paid. Okay.
So it'll show up in the bills to be paid before they're paid or? Eric? No, I don't want.
Maybe.
Can I comment on that?
Yes.
It'll be similar to what the parks do. We have invoices that happen from the last meeting up until that date, and then the bills that we're approving that night. Anything that was paid in between would be on a separate report.
That'll be easier for you. How will it be for you?
I don't have anything to do with that. That'd be Carrie.
How will it be for you, Carrie?
Yeah, I'm good.
But
Okay. Now come back and say you have problems.
Do it.
All right, so we have a motion, support. All those, any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Next item, sale of vehicles.
yeah, actually, if I could flip 5 tree removal. And so if I can flip those, though, that would actually make more sense just for
Really?
continuity. Yeah, if that's all
I'm
right.
gonna skip over it.
For the sale of the vehicle, so this board chose to allow the Parks and Recreation Commission to take the red truck that we had at the fairgrounds, the flatbed rather, in exchange for the truck that they had at Long Lake Park. We have done the transfer between the two vehicles. We now have the Long Lake Park truck. Just looking for permission to go ahead and put that on the market and get it off our roster.
Okay, so I'd be looking for a motion to sell which truck is it?
It's the old Long Lake Park truck.
Oh, the one that has the hole in the floor?
Correct. Yep.
Looking for a motion to sell the old park. Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner LaHaye. Support by Commissioner Ludlow. Any other discussion? The only thing that I would ask is, so we're going to sell that on our own? Because I know with the Enterprise, when we did that with the old pool vehicle, we got like $100.
We're not using Enterprise.
Okay,
Yeah.
Do we'll do it in-house.
okay. Any other questions? If not, all those.
I
in
do
favor-
have one more question.
Okay.
It's about a sale of the vehicle. I know we're getting our ambulance back. Will we be selling that ourselves also?
Yeah, eventually.
Yeah.
We have to get the title back from the city.
Okay.
City
Yeah, they
left.
had the new one out there.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody's seen it. Very nice looking.
So once we get that back, we'll go through CNS ambulance sales
Okay.
to see about getting it sold.
Yeah. They did a good job on the other one, so we'll definitely give the job back to them.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, so all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion passed. Go ahead and proceed with selling the vehicle.
Next item are, so we have some property located off of Long Lake Park Road. You guys have a map of it. It's actually going to be tied in with the sale of the property. I talked to Commissioner Peterson. We're under the belief that might be cedar on the property. In order to look at, and again, this kind of ties in, so I guess the two go hand in hand. When I was brought in, one of the things I was asked for was to look at different properties that we might have that we don't necessarily need to hold on to. One of those are located out near Long Lake Park. In order to do the wetland delineation, the appraisal, looking at the possibility of whether or not a road can be put in, breaking up of parcels, basically all the work that goes into that. The amount would be just under 15,000. To offset that, I'd like to harvest some trees off of that property first. I think that way it would be as much of an impact to our budget. So I'm just looking for approval to at least go in and get some quotes to bring back to the board. What we can get for that, and then likewise, there's also, and it's not tree removal, but it's a tree trimming in front of the courthouse. You guys have a picture of the courthouse.
How much do you think we'll get for that one?
A couple branches. We can maybe sell it as a souvenir. I'm not sure, but
Well, let's take this one
One at a time.
with the Long Lake Park first. So would anybody interested in approving a motion to proceed with I guess it would be the study for,
Yeah.
getting a quote for harvesting some of the timber off that property.
so is that the first one?
Correct, yeah, the tree removal.
So I guess look for a motion.
I'll make a motion, then we can have a talk about.
We have a motion for the Long Lake Park tree support by Commissioner Bray. Further discussion?
Yeah, Jesse, you mentioned cutting some trees down. Do you have any idea? I know the parcel of one of them was what, 40 acres?
Yeah, approximately.
Was there a certain parcel?
We'd probably focus on that one first, but again, we'll have a professional come out who can tell us which areas he would recommend cutting and harvesting from. I wouldn't know that, but before any cutting's done, the board
Right.
would know the
Because we
area.
don't want them to go in there and just slash it all off.
Right.
I've seen that done.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So again, this is just really just to get a quote to bring back to the board. So you'll have final say before anything's cut.
Okay. So we have a motion in support. Any other questions for discussion? If not, yeah, so I guess this one would be just, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion passed. Now your next item was you can ask what you really want to ask, Jesse, on that tree. besides just cutting a branch.
Originally, we were talking about maybe removing it altogether, but the chairman was against that. So we thought maybe at least trimming back the branch so you can see that there's actually a building behind it.
And so the only issue that I had with it was when we had the sewer issue a year or two ago, a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
we had to dig up the whole front
That
lawn,
was a mess.
literally across the front, and they did everything they could to save that tree, and I just hate to cut it down right now, just after we worked so hard to save it, so.
So if we could just do some trimming, again, that can be done by our grounds maintenance team and just trim that branch back.
Personally, I like the trees there. Just trim them would be fine.
So do we need to really do a motion on that? Because I think,
That's all I have, as,
Yeah.
as long as everybody's aware.
is everyone good with trimming the tree? Okay,
Thank you.
you're good then.
Next part is sale of land. So again, in order to do that, we're gonna have the study done. We did get a quote from here on engineering and surveying. It would be the appraisal of the existing property owned, plan for development for the current market value, wetland delineation of areas between the new boat launch and Lakewood Drive, potential cost of private construction, potential lakefront lots, potential market value of the 4 10-acre parcels, which actually may turn into 5, but they were okay with that, so that wouldn't change the price. Potential market value of the lakefront lots and survey cost of land division, total $14,800. Again, I'd like to see what we can get for some of the timber off that land to offset the cost before we move forward, but want to at least bring this to the board so that they know that there's movement and they're not surprised when it comes back up.
So we're gonna see what we can get for timber harvesting off of the 40 acres. We looking to approve this survey, or do we want to?
That's up to the board. We can either start now and just see what we can get off the timber as we move forward to offset it, or if you want to wait to see what that'll look like. But either way, this work will have to be performed before we can move forward.
Okay, so what is anybody?
Well, we did the same thing with the jail. We went in and got bids for how much we're gonna get for the clearing of where the jail was, and that was a one-time payment he paid us, and that's how we cleared the property and filled it, so.
So are you suggesting that we
Yeah,
hold off?
wait till we see what the forester
Okay.
says, and
Is everyone good with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll hold off on this, and then we have the quote, and then once you get information back on the timber harvest, we can go.
I do have one question, Jesse, on that property. Excuse me, 30 acres does it not, excuse me, front Long Lake. 1 10-acre does. We had 4 10 acres, is that what you're saying? Or you planned on going it that way, or?
They were gonna look into, I think that was the largest they could break them up, so that's what they were gonna look into, but we can break them up. They really don't know until they get there and figure out what the wetlands look like, I guess. So again, this is just kind of a very hazy picture of what they would be doing, but yeah, until they get in there and figure out what the wetlands are, they'll figure out the waterfront.
Yeah, because there is wetlands there. Yeah. Okay, I just want to know.
Okay, thank you.
The next, you want me to keep going or?
Yep,
Next item is the NMMMA contract and resolution. I did collect everybody's notes. And we did get those in. I think most of those got finalized. We did have something come back. Commissioner Britton had submitted some notes earlier today. And we did put this forward. Thank you, Rachel.
If you want me to come up.
Yeah, I was just gonna go through real quick on his notes. So a couple of the questions that he did have, and we'll skip down, I'm sorry, on a couple of items to strike. Are the authorities okay with striking those? On changing section 17 to read subject to approval of the authority to subject to the approval of the local unit. The compromise was to say subject to the approval of the authority and local unit. And then on, sorry, whether or not there should be a clause added that specifically states that the building and equipment would be surrendered voluntarily from the authority to the local unit. The authority replied back that in the event that they actually, part 13, they believe covers that.
And Ron Lipscomb from Miller Canfield is online if we, if you need him to weigh in on something.
Okay. Then the final,
Did have some responses on my responses too, so.
oh, okay, perfect. And then the final thing I had was,
Saying section 13 of the bond contract,
The lease,
Oh.
a land lease.
which is what you sent over.
the final thing was, whether or not there needs to be language added that specifically states that household surcharge revenue would be dedicated to pay the debt service. And the response was at the March 11th meeting, the authority offered to establish a joint account for the debt payments in which the authority would deposit the payment amount each February. They wanted to know whether or not that would satisfy the request. So those were the questions that came in today. The answers, Rachel, that you kind of.
Yeah, I know Ron had some comments that he wanted to make, so I'll turn it over to him. Miller Canfield.
Yeah, good evening, Commissioners. My name is Ron Liscombe. I'm a partner with Miller Canfield. We are serving as bond counsel to the authority on this transaction. So I do have a couple responses to each of the points raised by Commissioner Britton. First, with respect to item number 1, where there's requested a provision that the building and equipment will be surrendered from the authority to the county in the event that system revenues are insufficient. There's a couple problems with that request. First of all, there are a variety of sources of funds that are going into this project. I think it's a $5 to $6 million project. In total, we're looking at a bond of, a little over $1 million. So, without looking at all of the other grants and sources of funds that are going into this project, it would be problematic to agree to some sort of reversion of the property that is being financed with, maybe 20% of the total project cost to the county in the event that system revenues are insufficient. I would note that there are provisions in the contract that provide for the county to be reimbursed if at any given point in time there is a shortfall in system revenue to pay debt service and the county has to step in. There are provisions for the county to be reimbursed. So that is, protection to the county, assuming that the recycling facility will continue to be operated and the household surcharge will continue to be levied. Additionally, one problem amongst others are that, the authority is made up of multiple constituent municipalities. And it would be maybe problematic for all those constituent municipalities that make up the authority to agree to some sort of reversion of title of the property and equipment to the county in the event that there's a shortfall in revenues, particularly given the other 2 points that I've already made. If anyone has any questions on that point, I'm happy to answer them.
Yeah, one of the questions that I had, and I've asked this before, is if the authority can't make a payment, how can they reimburse the county if they couldn't make the payment?
Well, that is based on the assumption that not being able to make the payment at any given time reflects on the long-term viability of the recycling facility. It assumes that fact, which I think, given the output of the facility and revenues generated from that, along with the user fee, I think is maybe not necessarily a determinative assumption, if that makes sense. If there is a shortfall at any given time, then, it's just a shortfall at any given time. If the authority is not generating any revenue, then your point is completely 100% correct. But I don't know if that's definitely not true. We know that's not true because of the household user fee.
So then I guess my other question would be, and I know that we talked about, putting money aside. My comment, I think I've talked to a couple of the commissioners, is can the county then withhold the amount to cover the bond payment from the surcharge fee?
So there is within in the contract, there is a defined term called system revenue, which includes the household user surcharge. Multiple provisions in the contract say the bond debt service will be paid from system revenue, and the county will only have to step up if the system revenue is insufficient. So the short answer is that that concept is already built in. Certainly, you know, if the county collects the surcharge and it wants to deposit the money into the debt service fund, there will be a separate debt service fund account that is set up to handle the debt service on the bonds. So if the county wants to deposit that directly into the debt service fund, it is certainly, you know, welcome to do that.
Well, I think though that we would want to make sure that that was defined prior to, because if, when you're doing a budget and you're expecting the 380 or whatever to come in and we've reduced it by whatever that
Right.
bond payment is, I think that needs to be somewhere in the language to allow us to do that, to ensure that you're aware of what we're doing ahead of time.
Ron, would that be appropriate to put into this contract or just be part of a motion that directs us to set up an account?
How often does the authority meet? Because I just saw, you have quarterly financials.
It's monthly.
We have month.
You would be able to determine by financials, correct me if I'm wrong, if there is a problem that's starting that may result in being unable to make a payment, correct?
Right. And we have, we do an annual budget.
Right.
And we have monthly financials. We would also, in our pro forma, we have debt service built in. We have lots of debt service built in. So, we certainly plan for that debt service, if that answers your question.
That does.
We would know if there was a
I feel confident because there are financials provided by the group. And I think that we have to trust that we would be able to have an idea that there might be something brewing. I would hope, yeah.
And with two county members of the authority, they have full access to those financials.
Okay, I'm good.
Any other questions?
Based on the two things I'm not really clear on here at this point, who, again, you mentioned that somebody else would reimburse the county if the county had to turn around and make the payments, but who indeed would reimburse that?
It would
The
be
authority does.
But if the authority doesn't have any money in the first place, that's a problem, right?
That's what I said.
Yeah.
Well, we would have to have no money, though. I mean, there is always the surcharge coming in.
Okay.
So if we have to pay, we'll just go with year one, $50,000 for the bond payment plus interest. That was the other point that I wanted to ask about. So when the bond payment is set up, what about the interest payments on those bonds? Where does that money come from?
Ron, I'd have to defer to you on that.
Yeah, certainly. So that is all derived from system revenues. Generally, it will be paid back. Obviously, money is not free, so there is an interest cost. Generally, the way we set up bond payments is that there are equal monthly or equal annual payments over the life of the bonds. So basically, early on, like with any amortized debt, you will have, higher interest costs and lower principal costs. And then as it amortizes over the life of the bonds, the principal portion of the payments increase and the interest portion of the payments decrease. But you will have equal annual debt service. So interest payments are made twice a year, and principal payments generally are paid once a year. So on one date, say it's January and June or July. On January 1, there may be a principal and an interest payment due, and then in July, there would just be an interest payment due. But the annual payments will be equal. So you will be able to understand what those are at the time we sell the bonds. And you'll be able to budget that out, both the authority and the county, to understand, when the household user fee comes in, you will be able to budget that out and identify, well, we know we have X amount coming in, in every January. So you can budget out what the annual debt service payments will be, both principal and interest.
I would say, you know, if you are more comfortable putting that debt service payment from the surcharge into a separate account directly from the county, we have no problem with that.
That would be just Cindy making a, giving me an account, giving you a.
I mean, we could start an account, a joint account. It doesn't matter.
I'm not sure how,
The rate
whose
isn't right.
tax ID number are you putting that under? Who's maintaining that account? I mean, there's a lot of questions with that. I guess I would want
Does,
discussed prior to it.
does the surcharge from the city,
We collect, the county collects
the
it.
county collects it,
Yeah.
then you turn around and pay the authority? Or we pay the authority? What, how?
We get checks when it comes in.
Okay.
And, you know,
And I think this is Annie. I think it was 386,000 last
it
year?
is, yes.
Yeah, I did
And-
see that.
And
But I'm
the-
just saying are you talking about like a savings account or?
Well, no, I think what Bill was saying,
Internally, yeah.
and what I kind of said too, was if we know we're gonna have a $50,000 payment on the bond, somehow, because in the language I saw earlier was that the county will set aside that money to cover the payment.
Mhm.
So my thought was if we're gonna do this, that money should then come out of the surcharge.
Correct, but could you do it by transferring out internally or? I don't know how that
I
works.
mean, as long as that's allowed, I mean, you could just keep it in an account here until the payment is.
I would rather we made interest on it than someone else. I mean, if we stick it in an account at the beginning of the year, we're not making any interest on it. Where if it's sitting in our account, we're making interest on it before it goes out to wherever.
So there's,
Okay, it's down.
I would just note that generally there are some tax restrictions on how much interest you can earn on a debt service fund. Because the bonds will be issued on a tax exempt basis, the IRS restricts how much interest you can earn on both the project fund, so the amount that is derived from the sale of the bonds. But then also there are some restrictions on the amount that is going to sit in a debt service fund. So you cannot have like unrestricted arbitrage earnings, because that basically is what you would be doing, is earning an arbitrage, potentially a higher interest rate on your investment of that money than you're paying on the debt service on the bonds. So that would be potentially problematic. But you can deposit the money into a debt service fund, you know, that generally can earn some interest income, but you generally would not want to earn more interest than you're paying on the bonds.
How does that work though, when it's the money that we're setting aside the money from the surcharge to pay the bond payment when the bond payment comes due?
Correct.
But you said you can't earn more than potentially the bonds are.
6%. Is that correct?
That's going to be on the high side, the far high side. The
But I-
interest. So
but I'm-
you would just
Don't have
be
anything
restricted
against
on your
6%.
investments. You know, generally, to a earning interest that's less than you're paying on the bonds.
I think, Ron, we got two separate issues here, but the taxes are, on the surcharge goes to the county. That money has nothing to do with the bonds.
Yeah.
That money, it could sit in the county, it could sit there all year and draw interest as much as they want and pay them at the recycling that they're whatever, $380,000 at the end of the year.
We would want to take a look at exactly how that is going to function. I would have my tax partner take a look at that, you know, just to make sure upfront that you would not run into any problems with the IRS.
But isn't the surcharge not considered a tax?
It's just a surcharge.
It's just
It's a
not-
totally separate issue.
But
It's not a-
$25 per.
There's money that we could invest or
Right,
put in a
right.
bank or whatever.
Whatever.
It's not taxes that we've called.
I mean, what Bill is saying makes sense to me, you know, it's already collected by the county and I mean,
Yes.
you distribute it to us when it comes in. So I guess, Ron, I wouldn't see a problem. I mean, I know you want to double check that, but I wouldn't see a problem with them holding that back.
We can take a look at that.
Yeah. I mean, as long as if it gives you assurance that it'll be paid.
Any other questions?
The second thing you said, there's other municipalities involved in this, but nobody else is on the hook for the bonds. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Correct.
So,
I think they tried.
so we potentially, if, let's just say things went sideways, so we're gonna argue about the assets that are left in the entity, but we still get the bond payment.
Yeah, so he was talking about the other townships that are involved, which
No, I get it. I'm just, I just want a clarification.
what I was gonna say was the other townships don't really have the skin in the game as we do.
But that's sort of my point.
Yeah,
So I highly doubt that anybody would,
I never
Argue.
don't.
so, well,
I don't trust.
Well, it should be laid out though.
Yeah.
We have a secured interest against the bonds or the assets.
But once the,
Bill says if it's terminated, those buildings don't go back to us.
because the land, they're leasing the land from us.
Jesse, have you had our attorneys read that contract over? Has anybody in our
Yeah.
attorneys,
Yeah,
do they have any suggestions or?
Well,
this is just the ones I originally sent out.
And
And then of course, we took the notes after I sent out his notes and then I took everybody else's notes
Mhm.
after that. So.
just too sketchy.
So any other questions? Any other comments about thoughts of how we want to move forward? I know that they're looking to proceed.
Yeah, I know. I just want to say that I'm a no vote. Of course, I've always been a no vote. County has stuck their nose out so many times to help other people. And we always got stuck with something that we had to pay. The county is stuck so many times that we can't afford to even pay our own bills, let alone if we get stuck with this MAA, whatever. I can't see putting the people in my district in that financial position. I can't see it, and I won't do it. That's just my vote. This board's probably going to pass it. But you can just show me what you're gonna do, but I have no confidence in it. I have none. And I know we're gonna get stuck with something and we're gonna lose. And I think you ought to go back to the board and figure something else out. And another thing I never did like where you were going to build it because it's at an airport. But we're gonna be having these trucks go through with garbage on them, bags flying all over the place. It's gonna look nice for the entrance into the airport. No, I'm not for it. You've got 5 acres out there right now. It seems to me you should be able to build something that's significant out there to work. So.
I don't think they have 5 acres.
Are there others?
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. No.
I make a
What-
comment on it.
Bill and Mike-
John and I are on the NMMA board, and I think they're on the right track. I think they're gonna be successful in the endeavor they got. Well, good management now, and they made some personnel changes. They got decent equipment, and I think it's gonna work.
And that's another thing. Their equipment's gonna break down. They're gonna need new equipment. Where are they gonna get the money? They're barely making it now.
Well, part of the bond would, not necessarily the equipment, but be more of a state-of-the-art facility, recycling facility. They do have a new vehicle. I don't know how many bins total. I know Bailey has it on the top of his head or mind, right?
And we're right around 25 bins total.
So as far as, and again, moving to the future, the goal, and again, it's going to be steps and, baby steps, if you will. We're not going to just go from a new, go out and buy 25 new vehicles, because again, you have to have the funding to do that. So the expectation isn't that they will hopefully not be at a point where they're overspending. It'll be just gradual steps. So I'm the biggest concern that I have with this whole thing is again, how some of the language works. And that's probably my biggest sticking point is that just some of the stuff that we've already talked about, and then the county's responsible. So I know, like Todd said, that, and that will be hopefully the help for the recycling center. The new facility is bringing in those additional counties with their materials. My concern with that is, and again, I don't know if RRS knows this or whoever knows this, but seems like when you flood the market with materials, the more materials that are available, and I know Bailey's been working on trying to get top dollar for this, but when you have more materials on the market, does then that devalue the materials?
This is Annie with RS. There is strong demand for materials in Michigan and the surrounding region. And that continues to grow with the sustainability goals of the other companies. And lots of times for recycled materials can be cheaper than using extracting new trees, et cetera, from the ground. So I think if anything, you might be able to get even better deals if you have more material, more longer term contracts for those end markets. There is always some fluctuation in the markets, but we've prepared for that by budgeting for using 5-year average commodity values. And so having that built in. To address some other questions that came up, we have been pretty careful with this pro forma of equipment replacement funds in place. So for when new equipment's needed and it wears out, or building and maintenance, that's all built into the pro forma. Outside of Alpena County, if materials brought in from non-residential commercial services or private haulers, or from other counties outside of Alpena, they'll also be charged a tip fee that contributes to that revenue as well. So there's a number of different revenue sources that contributes and to help making this go.
And right in our backyard, we have Wholesome, who we're working on an agreement for glass recycling. So we have a built-in place to, take that glass.
I'd just like to say what John said. How many recycling bins do we have? People don't want the recycling bins. I don't want them in my backyard. Don't put them in my backyard. What are you gonna do with all those recycling bins? The city don't want them, period. All these counties.
That's not true.
Oh, how many do you have?
We will find a place for them.
Yeah, so you're
We'll be talking about that at the next
Right.
NAMA meeting on Tuesday.
So you have one new truck, Is that gonna last you 10 years? No, you're gonna need new trucks. And as far as this tipping fee or whatever, people in Alpena are already complaining because their garbage bills are going up, and I'm sure they're gonna go up some more. You're gonna end up with all this material in the woods.
The tipping fee, Brenda, is not.
Well, I know they're not
From the
gonna
other
pass it
counties
on.
that will be.
That's from the
paying.
other county, right?
Yeah.
That's contributing to keeping the cost down.
But what I'm saying is, their bills are already going up. They can't afford to pay what they got right now. And this stuff is gonna be ending up in the woods, period.
Well, the
You're gonna be out in the woods.
recycling shouldn't, because
People have to pay.
as long
to
as
have it
there's,
done.
well, no, the recycling is gonna end up in the recycling bins
Well, you're
because,
hoping.
well, they're not, the recycling bins are available for, either you're paying or not paying, you're throwing your recycling in the trash or you're putting it into a recycling bin. So,
Doesn't the state have a mandate though?
Yep.
Well, we got,
well, with the material management.
that's why we're on the material management, where we got the 5 counties, we're each getting $70,000 for recycling per year.
Yeah.
And that's where the money's coming back, and all that recycled material from those 5 counties is coming to Alpena. That's part of
So
that
that'll
plan.
help them to be
That's
able to
more,
recycle.
that's more recycled material for them.
that was the other question too, that I was wondering, because of the material management plan with the money that we're getting through that, does that designate, and I don't know if Annie knows or could be able to give me the answer, but could the other counties, us as well, be putting that MMP money towards this as well?
Yes, you can put that in, and that counts towards, yes, you can use it for implementation and all sorts of ways of recycling programs. We currently have in the pro forma from MMP 50,000 over 6 years, not from all of the 6 counties, looking for some of that reserve being helping with the startup of the facility.
And it's really going to depend on how each of the counties want to, have agreements with us. But what the MMP does is it gives flow control into our facility.
Bill's running that show, right?
Yeah. Thanks.
So what did we get out of that? We got something extra because you're running it?
It's 50 cents per capita, so. But then we were getting close to 80-some thousand dollars through recycling every year. So I mean, we could spend that money. The first year, everything has to go to RS&S to do the plan. After that, the next 4 years, we get 70,000 plus 50% per capita, 50 cents per capita. So it's just probably 81,000, something like that, Jesse, if I remember right.
Something around
That, and we dump some of that money back into the, and we don't have to spend it. Once, at 4 years, we can spend how we want, but it's always there to spend towards recycling. So I just think it's a win-win. I mean, I'm sitting in these meetings and talking, all the Montmorency and Elkona and Iosco and everything's on board with this, so they're ready to go. I know Iosco is ready to bring material up now because.
Well, and I know you guys have talked, for those that haven't been to recycling, Emmett County has been doing this for how many years?
Is it 25 or 30 years, Annie?
It's over 20. I think 25 sounds about right.
And from what we were told before, I think the way they do things, and Bailey's been out there checking it out, but theirs is more of a linear line as opposed to the you were here last
Right.
meeting, so.
They have different lines for different materials, I believe.
So this facility potentially would be better than their facility.
That's what we hear.
Efficiency wise, it should be, yes.
Okay. Okay, any other questions?
I have comments.
You have a comment?
I have a comment, yes.
Okay, one comment.
Yeah. I am in support of your facility, and I didn't come to this decision lightly. And from the very beginning, from your presentation, I was very impressed. And was worried about how it would proceed, but the financial burden to the county is what troubled me in the beginning. And being new and seeing the 6 figures and having the county responsible for that was an issue that I didn't feel comfortable with. And I was worried about being new to the board and giving that burden for 20 years. But that got resolved. So I'm comfortable with that. Then I proceeded further and I was reading the contract, and I am in the feeling with the chair that in the very beginning, I was very uncomfortable because I felt that the county was not protected as much as I felt it should be, but I couldn't identify specifically what bothered me, but we got through that. So to come this far, I think we need to finish it because you've put in the work and you basically, I've been out to the transfer station many, many times and I see how it's run. And that tells me that you'll be fine. You'll do a good job of it. So that is where my support lies, and I just have to trust. So I'm just trusting that everything's going to work out, and that's all we can do. It seems like the issues I had were covered, and there's just trust.
Are you done with your comment?
Yes.
Okay, good. Not good that you're done with it. So I do have another comment as well. One of the, Jesse and I, and probably, is it Dan. We did meet with State Representative Cam Cavett to relay a concern and maybe help if he could do that, as well as Senator Hoytinger as far as potentially additional money to cover help with the bond. You know, we won't have any answers. He did say that, or was it Michelle that said if we might find out by the end of the year potentially?
The appropriation process, you usually find out if you make it into the budget by mid-August, early September. And then it's just a matter of waiting. So
Okay, so there is that as well. So, you know, if there's a potential to help us out, I think they're, from what I know, they're both willing to work with us and, you know, if we do need the extra money, which then was, I guess, leads to my last point, and I know I brought it up last month or last meeting, was if we do decide can pay the bonds off early because we do get that financial windfall through the state somehow, there is no penalty for early payment.
So I can, if I may.
Yes.
So generally what happens is when you issue bonds, the standard call provision, which means paying it off early when you sell to investors in the market. Generally, the call provisions are that bonds are not callable for 10 years, but we can always seek you know, a shorter call provision when we go out to sell. Generally, you'll pay a higher interest rate because of that, because investors, when they invest, like to know that, you know, their money is going to earn interest over a certain period of time. So they don't have to worry about, you know, looking for reinvestments earlier than they normally would. So we can get a shorter call provision. That's something we would have to work with the authority's financial advisor on. But there is an interest penalty for that. Generally, you'll pay a little bit more. But what I would say is, you know, if you're seeking like a state earmark, you would want to have as much flexibility in how that is spent. So you wouldn't want the state to say, only use this to pay off bonds, but it can be used for, you know, system operations, in which case, you know, you do have more flexibility on how that money would be spent. And then that reduces the risk for the county in terms of, you know, the authority maybe not having enough money to cover its operations and its debt service.
So the short version is we'd pay a penalty.
If you want the option to pay bonds off, you know, in the course of the earliest call provision I've seen on a publicly sold debt is you know, 5 to 6 years. I think we might sell this to a bank, so that may give a little bit of flexibility, but you know, that determination hasn't been made yet. Particularly because banks usually only like to make loans for, you know, maybe 10 to 12 years. So we're balancing, you know, a couple different factors. You know, it's possible that this does get sold at a public market, so you would pay a penalty for an earlier redemption provision.
a legislative grant is usually good for I've only seen them usually good for 2 to 3 years before you have to ask for an extension. The problem is, and as we've seen in the past, for example, we got the legislative grant for the boat launch, and we also happened basically, we had hit COVID and the governor said, never mind, and wiped it out. We had to go back and try getting it back into the budget years later. But 3 years is usually as far as you can take a legislative grant before you have to go back to the legislature and say, hey, we need you to extend it.
But they would,
Usually they will, but it's not guaranteed.
so they would be trying to get the bonds before we would even know whether we potentially.
What kind of penalty are we talking about? How large of a penalty?
It's hard for me to say. I'm not a financial advisor. So, you know, that would be something that, you know, we would ask MFCI, which is the authority's municipal financial advisor for the transaction. If you're talking about 3 years, I mean, it would probably be meaningful.
And the other issue with the legislative grants, you do have to be specific. So they don't like broad language. You're gonna have to say it's going to be spent on this over this amount of time. And then they'll want plans and whatnot attached to it usually.
For a Pacific thing.
Yeah.
Don't-
But I mean, if there's a penalty, I guess we would just put it all in and then just see where we are. After that would still be less. I'm guessing still less than.
And we also have a request and have had a request for some time into Eagle for $750,000 to go into our current grant. So that's always a possibility. And we've been working with Pam Cabot on that as well. So, you know, that might be a better way to bring funding in.
Okay. Any other questions? Anybody willing to,
I'm gonna make the motion that we go ahead with this contract with the stipulation, and we find out from the financial on how we're gonna set up the payments to the county out of that surcharge fund.
through the motion
I'll second.
and support? Any further discussion?
Chairman, just for clarification, because again, Commissioner Britton had his in today, so the contract that you're looking at, along with those 2 strikes,
Yes.
and then that last one, it was supposed to be authority and local unit. Was that acceptable to you, Commissioner?
That was another point I know Ron wanted to make.
Yeah, if I may. So this provision deals with surplus bond proceeds. So this is in the event that the project is completed and comes in under cost. I'm not sure how likely that is today, given, uncertainty in the market and still, continued inflation and potential tariffs. So the likelihood of this is probably somewhat minimal, but this is what the provision provides. So in the event that there are surplus bond proceeds, the county has the option to require kind of request, but require one of 2 courses of action. One is that they can require that the excess bond proceeds are used to pay off debt service. From what I'm hearing, that's probably the option the county would want to take. If that's the option it wants to take, no agreement from the authority is necessary. However, if the county says, we have excess bond proceeds, we want you, the authority, to do more improvements. So increase capacity of the recycling facility, whatever the case may be, your option, pay off bonds early or defease them, or require the authority to do more improvements. But in that latter instance, if you want the authority to do more improvements, the provision as it's written basically requires the authority to agree to it. So I think that's probably reasonable. Like, I would not want to force someone to do something that they don't want to do. And basically the provision as it's written, basically provides for that. So you have great protection because it's your choice which one of the 2 to take. If you want the authority to use the bond proceeds to kind of defease some bonds, or to put it into the debt service account, that's your choice. But if you want them to make more improvements, it just, as it's written, requires the authority to agree to that.
Well, but then on the flip side of that, we have 2 seats on the authority as the county, so not that that would force anything, but at least we have a say in that.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a motion, and do we have support?
Yes, Bill.
Support, that's right. Any final questions, concerns, comments?
So everything given to you by Eagle on their response?
Yeah. We've asked them for updates and they say it's still a potential, but we don't have a solid answer right now.
No?
I'm gonna say something.
Senior moment.
All right, no other questions? Roll call?
Commissioner Konashevsky,
Yes.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Ludlow,
Yes.
Commissioner Bray,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson.
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier,
No,
Commissioner Britton,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski.
Yes.
Motion carried. Good luck.
Thank you so much. I appreciate all the time that you put into this, and I know the decision did not come lightly. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll just add comment, everybody wants this to succeed. But they have to understand, especially this board in particular, what kind of scrutiny we're under with this budget situation and spending. Everybody's put a lot of thought into this. Me and Commissioner Britton were on the phone last night, late, we have to represent a lot of people. But, we have faith in you and you better pull it off.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
all
you.
I can say is, show me. And I'll be the first to say, congratulations.
Thank you, Brent.
Welcome.
Okay, next item, we did not have an updated on the emergency management contract.
Expecting that, and unfortunately, by the time I found out we wouldn't have it for the agenda was locked in, so we can remove that one and I'll have it ready at the next meeting.
Okay, next item is informational. So we did a poll vote for budget adjustments, and I'm not going to read through all these. You guys all agreed to them. I did something in the email, right? So it's broken down. I was in the office at the time. But anyway, so that's just informational stuff for the poll vote on the budget adjustments. Next poll vote was a recommendation to approve the Michigan Earned Sick Time Act policy.
Commissioner, on this one, although it doesn't say so, we do, I did kind of give you guys a heads up. We do need to choose where we're going to put the park managers in that. I know a lot of you have kind of been discussing, it sounds like you want to put them under the full-time.
Yeah.
But if I could get a vote on that, just so we can update our records, because they're kind of one of the few entities that are kind of in
So
limbo.
we've made the motion to approve the Michigan Earned Sick Time. Now you just asked that we make a motion to.
Place the park manager under
Okay.
full-time.
So can I make a motion?
But wait, are you just doing it for just this year, you said, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Be for-
So I'll make a motion to move the park managers under the full-time,
Yeah, under the
which
policy.
which basically, after conversation, really doesn't, I don't think will impact them, just because, as we've said, if they're already working, they're getting paid because of salary. It's not going to really impact us one way or another. So I'll make the motion that we move them under the full-time.
Support.
We have a motion and support. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Right.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Next, we're going to kind of go through if you don't have anything, most of the stuff was in the consent calendar. If you got something you want to touch on, under the major committees that we're on. First up is Travis for the facilities.
Nothing major, nothing significant, really.
That's what I like to hear. Airport.
Well, we had a meeting and Steve is going to retire next month. The 25th is going to be his last day. So the CTR met, CRTC met, and they discussed some of the runway approaches and stuff at the airport. I don't know, I didn't go to that meeting, but you were there for a while, weren't
No,
you?
actually Travis and Jesse went.
It's good news for the community. It's a couple more years worth of big projects, a lot of.
That we don't have to pay for.
Yep. A lot more improvements to the airport.
Yep.
Well, that's a good thing. So,
You good, Bill?
good, yeah.
Okay. Courts and public safety, Lucille? Anything?
I'm good. I don't have anything to update. Updates were done by Director Elke.
Okay, good. And then personnel, you weren't there.
I was not there, but what they did do was appoint a person to the library board, which is here
Yeah.
tonight.
And Carrie's still
congratulations.
working.
If you want.
What's that?
I have her oath done if you want.
Okay, why don't we do that right now?
Okay, I do have one report I'd like to make. if
Okay.
you want to wait.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah, on the Parks Board, you don't have that on there. But the county parks was received, and I was so excited. I got it in the mail this week. A $5,000 check from the Visitors Bureau of Alpena for Mary Beth Stutzman to use for the county parks. There was some stipulations on what we could use it for, but I have not got a letter out to her yet to thank her. But I'd like the public to know that they did donate to the county parks, and we're pretty excited about it, so.
Yeah, Brenda did call me and say that she was going to go to Taco Bell and buy $5,000 worth of cards. So I said, probably not.
I was the one who sent me a $5,000 check. I
Yeah.
thought, wow.
Okay, thank you,
We're
Brenda.
very excited, yes.
Okay, we're good to swear her in now.
Yes.
Okay. Raise your hand. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this state, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the Alpena County Library Board for a term beginning March 25th of 2025 and ending December 31st of 2025, according to the best of my ability. Sign. I know it's me. It's an A between the H and, okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Now you can start going to library board meetings.
Yay.
Okay, moving on. We have some correspondence. Don't have any unfinished business, so we'll move over to the correspondence. We have one item, a letter. Okay, we already did that. We talked about the letter for the recycling program. Next item is a letter of support for Mighty Flies that Jesse put together. You want to make any comment on that?
Just basically, Mr. Murkowski, who runs the drone program at the college, reached out, and it was just an opportunity for them to basically get the, what is it called? Sorry, Mighty Fly, yeah, to come to our area, utilize some of our airspace later on this year.
Are those drones then?
They are.
Okay, well, that's pretty
Drop
cool.
your packages off.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty soon.
UPS.
Okay, you good with that, Jesse? Okay. I also wanted to talk about a letter of support I got, and I don't know if the rest of you had received an email regarding the BEAD program, which is a broadband for our area. Since I've been a commissioner, I've talked to state representatives, Michelle Hoytinger, to try to get a better internet within our local area. We've heard that they're going to be they were working on doing that over the last number of years, and yet here we are and we still don't have it. I know I talked to Kim because there was some question regarding support for another company. But the way I look at it is if this is going to help somebody get some sort of funding to help improve our internet within the area, I'm willing to sign the letter. So we didn't get that, but is
There was
that?
something attached to
Was
the
there?
packet.
Okay, so she did get it out there. It's a pretty basic, and I will just ask for a motion on this, but if you guys support it, that I go out and it's a website that I have to go to, and it's a canned based on that letter that was attached. Their letter of support for who was the company? Shawnee out of Shawnee Communications out of, I think it's Illinois. So if you guys are willing to, I will go out and do the letter of support to help. One additional item is I just happened to get an email from a constituent in my area complaining about the internet. And I wrote back to her saying that I know how she feels because my internet is horrible. I'm on DSL and my only options are satellite, which satellite is crazy. So hopefully, if someone would like to make a motion that I approve writing the letter of support for Shawnee Communications, I will do that.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Britton, support by Commissioner Fournier. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed. New business, Lucille. You get Amtrak to us.
Yes. Well, I think we all got the email from
Yep.
Saginaw. And as in my older age, I've gotten very weary of air travel. And for many years have wanted to be able to take the train out west. And the closest place that you can board one is in Flint or in Lansing. So I saw that and I have no idea how to go about it. But I was at a meeting last week and there was a lot of talk about this link. And so evidently it's a group that wants to get a link from Flint
Mackinac.
to Mackinac. And we have rail. So I think that we should support it and I guess we have to approve the resolution and I would take care of, I don't know, there's a lot of
So you-
stuff in it.
So you would, so basically we have a resolution here.
Yeah.
Everyone got a chance to review that.
That's the one that they sent, the sample from Saginaw.
In most cases, when someone's look, we get a lot of counties or different places that are looking for us to sign a resolution. The resolution, a lot of times for the different counties is pretty much all the same. So I guess I'd look for a motion from you, if you would like to make a motion to support this resolution.
And I'll look into it and get whatever, find
Well, I
out.
think once we support, what's that?
The resolution, once we support it,
Yeah. So should we have a motion? You were supporting it? Is that what you were saying?
No, but
I'm
Support.
Yeah.
Support by Commissioner Konashevsky. So we have a motion and support for the resolution to support Amtrak service from Flint to Mackinac City. Any other conversations, discussions?
Yes, do you know if they're gonna come through Alpena or if they're?
I believe that that's what they would like to do.
That's all new tracks and all the way to Mackinac.
Up here to Mackinac.
I don't think that they're going
Well-
to think so, but no sooner did I read that, but I don't know if anybody else got I got a email today about rail in the state, there's infrastructure.
Yep.
Oh, okay, so weird. But, so I don't know, have no idea, but I
So
would
we're-
like to look into it if you can.
What I read said there was gonna be a stop in Osneek and Alpena.
That's right, Austin and Alpena, yeah.
Yeah, because, Austin really getting built up down there. Okay, so we have a motion, support for the resolution. Again, this is just giving them our support, we don't have to
That's
provide any
basically,
funding
yeah.
or whatever.
So, yeah.
So all those in favor, if there's no other questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, resolution is passed.
Great.
Next item is public comment. Do you have anybody in the audience for public comment? No? Online? No? Okay, we'll close public comment. We'll move into closed session for personnel matter with the chair. Okay, we're back on. Okay, roll call, please. Make sure no one disappeared.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Here.
Commissioner Ludlow.
Here.
Commissioner Bray. Here. Commissioner Peterson, Commissioner Fournier,
here,
Commissioner Britton,
Here.
Commissioner Konashevsky.
Here.
Commissioner Kozlowski.
Here. Okay,
yeah.
Brenda?
I would like to make a motion to pass the sheriff's request to move a part-time person to full-time.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Fournier.
Support.
Support by Commissioner Peterson. Any other discussion?
No.
If not, all those in favor signify by saying, do we need a roll call on that one?
Yes, we're
Yeah,
spending
roll
money.
call.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Ludlow.
Yes.
Commissioner Bray.
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson.
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier.
Yes.
Commissioner Britton,
Yes.
Commissioner Konashevsky.
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, that was the last item. So now I'd look for a motion to adjourn. A motion by Commissioner LaHaye or
Support.
by Commissioner.
We had three supports.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pass.